Good morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever it is for you. I'm Brent, an author, amateur world builder, writing educator, a bunch of other things. You can find me as werewolf_doctor on Threads, Instagram, Patreon, Ko-Fi, and YouTube, as well as obviously here. Today, I think what I'm going to do, once I kind of reorient some things here a little bit, that's better. Excuse me. What I think I'm going to do today is focus in on getting some, because it's a big grading weekend, I'm going to focus in on getting some side work done. So some of that is going to be, let's see, what do I want to work with? I've got a few different things to put together. Let's see what we got coming up here. I haven't looked at these in a couple months. Okay, what is this one? That one I think we're going to hold off on. What the heck is that? I think we're going to hold off on. Let's go with this one. Yeah, we'll work with that. Okay, so I think what I'm going to work with is today, predominantly, is a library. And this particular library is, once I shrink this a little bit, yes, okay, cool. So this particular library is, this is part of my randomly determined, what do I put that on? Randomly generated things using the random library, etc. generators I put together and have up on both my website and Patreon and Ko-Fi, all free. I'm going to make sure I put links in the chat, as well as they're also on the homepage. They are also on the, what did this happen here? They are also on the website as well. So they're all, or yeah, they're going to be in the, they'll be in the description for YouTube. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. Yes. So the Wastine Library is going to be an interesting one. It's a little more straightforward than some of the ones that have come up. So it's got some weird stuff going on there too. Okay, this is, yeah, we can work with this. I did not get an origin in there. Huh. Okay. That's okay. I have thoughts and ideas flowing through with this. Okay. So right off the bat, normally I have this divided up into general overview, which includes current status, appearance, that sort of thing. Then collection, which is the size, what's in there, how do they maintain or increase the collection, location, where is it, governance, how is it overseen and run, origins and history, and then staff population, which I generally divide up between living individuals, which would be your elves, dwarves, humans, whatever, gnomes, anything. Constructs, so any of your things like if the world happens to have golems or homunculi or other, I guess Warforged would fall in there for the D&D folks, that sort of thing. And then other, which is basically anything else, which could include extraplanar entities, spirits, ghosts, all that sort of stuff. So, and then visitor amenities, which is basically what is there present for visitors to make use of, and that could be for libraries. That could be as simple as a reading room or a kind of foyer entry area. If it's located in a place that's easy to get to, has a lot of stuff around it, or it could be more involved, like a place that has if it's a remote library, that it could have something like residences or places for guests, visitors to stay while they're there. A good example of that for the D&D folks would be the Forgotten Realms Candlekeep, which has a separate section for visitors where they can live, reside while they're while they are making use of the library. So I'm going to start off this one with, I can start off with any of these sections. In this case, I think I'm going to take them kind of randomly. I think I'm going to start off at the moment with the collection, which I think is then going to move me into the staff population, and then I'll probably bounce back to location and governance and all that stuff. Just because of how my mind and brain are working this morning. So the collection, the library has a average sized collection for its physical size. That all fits on its available shelving with room for growth. There is a section that is restricted from public. This is only open to visitors with explicit written permission from the library's council. I think we'll make it the entire council rather than necessarily individuals from it. We'll make that requires a 2/3 vote, 2/3 majority. Of a quorum of the council. So that'll work. Let's see. The collection is entirely made up of theological works covering or addressing. Let's go with covering. Every deity known to the continent. These works are organized by nation or culture, then alphabetically by deity. Let's see, the restricted section contains works on, what will this contain? This will be works on cults, deities, and practices that are not considered socially acceptable or are outright illegal and considered highly dangerous. Such as death or apocalypse cults. Most of the collection has been and continues to be acquired through legitimate purchases, but failing that, the council is not above commissioning thefts or commissioning alternate means of acquisition, e.g. thefts. Especially for materials they think best not to be in the hands of the general public. Yeah, I like that. Cool. Okay, so the collection, it's a good sized collection. There's space for growth. There's a restricted section that has things about your death cults, your apocalypse cults, you know, the cults that are trying to, for say, with a D&D type setting, the cult of the materials regarding the cult of the dragon, for example, might be part of that. You know, when this is a cult that's trying to bring Tiamat into the world, which is not the best of things, or something like for real world example, not really real world example, but we'll go away from that. Say a cult that focuses on committing lethal criminal activity. That would fall under something they would be careful about, or maybe some more threatening and dangerous deities or powers, that sort of thing, would fall into their restricted section. How this could be of use, for instance, because of that collection immediately brings to mind some options for use within, say, a narrative, a sort of campaign, that sort of thing, as a place of gaining information, acquiring knowledge about certain things, whether it be a side quest or a main quest regarding religious or theological elements, particularly pertaining to deities and less well-known gods or dangerous gods. So from there, I think an obvious place to turn in this particular case, because I've had some thoughts about it, sorry, just a moment, is to the staff population. So we have an average size collection, but a large body of staff. And normally I try to avoid that, even with the randomizers, I try to avoid having a larger staff than the building or collection is, but in this case, I think it makes sense to some degree because of the restricted section, because of the nature of the library. I think having a larger body of staff makes a certain level of sense. So the library staff is larger than its size is rather larger than its size would suggest, but we'll just knock that out. In addition to archivists and librarians, the staff includes, we got archivists, pages, and librarians. The staff includes both clerical and protective, clerical and protective and guardian, I think, individuals. Let's see. Former are present to assess materials and ensure the safety of restricted works, as well as to see to the needs of the other staff. The guards are there to religious staff, and the guards that protect the religious staff and the restricted, materials. The vast majority of the staff are living beings, elves, dwarves, humans, gnomes, etc. Nearly 80%. Let's see, there are a few constructs present, but not many. Most of them are limited to security roles, standing, dormant, until activated to intercept attempted or to protect the library. The remaining staff, is made up of It's going to make up the rest of the staff. Other. Since we have a theological library, and the majority, about 20%, about 1 in 5 are other. I think they're going to be divine servitors and some spirits of particularly devoted clergy who continue to serve the library after death or ascension. Divine servitors from several different deities. So divine servitors could be semi-divine beings, semi-divine entities. We got lots of different kinds of those that could come into play, whether they be semi-angelic figures or semi-demonic figures or whatever it happened, or anything in between. Let's see. Yeah, I think I like that. I think that'll work for there. We do not have... Okay, we'll mess with that a little bit. Okay, so governance. Let's see here. Because of those elements... Okay, so... Internally, the library is managed and governed by a small body composed of, I'm going to go with maybe 5 people. Odd numbers are usually best for the sort of council type things, because then you have a lack of opportunity or chances for, or reduce the likelihood of having a stalemate or ties. If you have 4 or 6, you can have a 2-on-2, 3-on-3. With 5, 7, 3, 9, you're more likely to, unless somebody abstains, you're more likely to have a clear majority coming into play. So I think we're going to go with 5 people. 3 are librarian archivists. 1 is a clergy person, and 1 is a guardian. All are chosen from among their respective division of the staff by the members of the staff. An equal vote on most council issues, though the cleric and guardian clerics and guardians votes/voices carry more weight in their respective areas of expertise. Let's see. Okay, new paragraph, because this one has both an internal and an external governance, which makes things interesting. The external is not that big a deal. So it's not going to be a huge issue, or it's probably not even going to be a major issue. Just figuring out what exactly what's going on with that. So the internal is going to be basically voted, set up by the internal workings of the order or the library, but there's also going to be an external council that kind of oversees everything. And given the nature of this particular collection, I think this is got to change a few things. Fits there. Oh, no, it can stay with that way. It can stay present tense. That's fine. Let's see. I forgot this one was a lost library, which is fine. I'm not going to change things to past tense because there is still it's not destroyed. It's potentially still in existence. However, I am going to note that before it disappeared, and possibly still today, an external council made up of clergy from several deities provides oversight of the library. This council is primarily involved in So the council is primarily involved in setting up and enforcing operational rules, though they do sometimes weigh in on materials being considered for the collection. The council only meets semi-annually, though, but can call emergency sessions as needed for emergencies. So we got an internal council that does the day-to-day operations. We have external oversight. Didn't really necessarily do a whole lot directly, but was still something that was there and could be looking at materials and making sure that everything is going is kind of falling under this. Now this could go very dark. This could be very. We can go a couple different ways with this. This could go very benign, where we've got a group of temples, a group of faiths or deities got together and said, we're putting all this information in one place, making it easily accessible for people, relatively speaking, and there for people to kind of learn and access and that sort of thing. We could take it also fairly dark, conspiratorial and such, where this council of several leaders of different temples came together and decided they were going to restrict or work against or even potentially wipe out certain beliefs or certain followings of deities or temples they did not necessarily approve of. So we can go kind of either way with this. We could even make that into a set of cycles where some generations, some years, some decades, this was kind of positive. Sometimes it was neutral, sometimes it was repressive. And we could kind of move through some of those things. Just because the organization works one way or the library works one way now doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it's always worked. It can evolve, it should evolve over time. And that could be part of why, if it became kind of repressive, that could be part of why it became lost, potentially. But we'll think about that and get to that when we get to the history side of it. Let's see, location. So, copy that. We're going to paste that way. Okay. So it's going to be, it was located in the wilds, beyond the legal control of any secular government. This choice was made in order to keep the library politically neutral and available to everyone who desired access. It's operated openly without hiding the physical library itself. So it's operating so it's basically operating in the open. It's located in the wild and in a kind of wilderness area far away from any kind of government entities, so that it's not becoming the what do we call it? Not becoming the purview of a particular government or state or something like that can be used to restrict access to the collection. It's being kept kind of open for anybody who wants to access it in this way, and kind of politically outside of things. This is, of course, before it became lost and disappeared, which may not have actually disappeared. It may have just become lost through other means, and we'll have to figure that out when I get to the history bit. So right now, looking at about 500 words, with 3 sections to go, which is pretty good for this. I'm guessing it's going to get up about 750 to 1,000 words, which is pretty good for a week's offering and things. I'm going to jump ahead to visitor amenities. So this is kind of in the wilderness. It's not in a city or anything like that where you're going to have easy access to, say, inns or taverns or other kinds of lodging, rentable houses and that sort of thing, apartments and whatnot. So the amenities are going to be a little stranger. The question becomes, does the library itself have places for people to stay, or are there going to be third parties that handle that sort of thing? I think in this case, I'm going to go ahead with third parties just to be a little different with that. So, in terms of visitor amenities inside, the library is going to probably have a general reading room, which would make sense. That may double as a. There may be a. Well, there's probably going to be a foyer. So. The library offers few amenities for visitors. These really only consist of two things. First, there is a foyer with attached cloak and weapons room where outerwear and offensive devices, both mundane and magical, are required to be checked with an attending guard. This is both to protect the library materials from accidental damage and to encourage and ensure safe, free use of materials. And incidentally, the safety of all visitors. So that's kind of nice there. I like that. The second one, before I forget that, second, the library provides a modest sized reading room for visitors to peruse materials. Yeah, it's a neat. Okay, cool. At comfortable reading tables once have been retrieved by pages. So it's basically going to be one of these where the library is not necessarily directly accessible by visitors. Pages will go, they'll tell members of the staff what they're looking for. Pages will go off and find them, bring them back, and they can use them in the reading room, and then bring them back to the pages take them back to the shelves. Restricted section will be, maybe they will be brought directly into the restricted section in that case. Those those seeking to use the restricted section are brought to a smaller reading area attached to the restricted collection after securing permission for access. Cool. The library has no guest residences or other such facilities. Before it became lost, Visitors used a pair of inns located a few hundred yards from the library to northeast and west, respectively. So in this case, I'll set up some inns that were kind of not very far away, maybe 100, 200 yards. Make that 100 to 200 yards from the building, from the library to the northeast and west. So the main roads coming in would be from the northeast and from the west. People could get inns there, a fair distance from the library, but not terribly far. Easy walking distance, and then they get access to the library that way. Excellent. So I got appearance and we've got history. Where do we go with that? Let's see here. I think I'm not really sure entirely what I want it to look like yet, so I will note that copy that and paste it there. Throughout the continent. Until it disappeared. Has been lost for over, let's see, how long do we want to make it lost for? You know what? Let's go randomize. Why not? We're going to randomize. So I'm going to go with D100. 57 years. There we go. So it disappeared not too long ago. It's recent enough that people will may still be familiar with it. Particularly long-lived species may have visited fairly close to when it disappeared. Even younger peoples that you're likely to have some folks who remember it to some degree. We'll work on the appearance later. I think I'm going to work on. Let's go ahead and I'll work on history later as well. That gets me a good start on there. That's about 670 words. So not bad. In less than 45 minutes, that's about 600 words added to this. 610 or so. So that's pretty good. I'm going to be happy with that at the moment. I will wrap that up some other time. So I got to think about the appearance. I got to think about history a bit just to figure out what exactly I want to do with it. I'm not entirely sure there. So we'll work that out later on. Probably between grading, because I will need grading breaks as I go through things. So that'll work. Let me take a look at this one. This week has kind of got or next month has kind of got a theme going. So the random generators kind of had a theme going on for a bit. On one hand, I've got a theological library. On the other hand, I have a temple school. And then I have two other things. What do these fall under? That one's got to be a group. That one's got to be that one's the group and that was a random place. Okay, yeah, or vice versa. Both of them are. We have a House of Kelda and a Yadrin Salon, both of which are kind of more. I think that both are going to be kind of akin to some of the 16th, 17th century Italian salons that were often run by because of things that came up in terms of origins and such that were run by courtesans and that sort of thing. So this particular November has a kind of theme to it. And then what's the shapeshifters here? Those are a fairly straightforward one. That's nothing too particularly weird. That'd be fairly quick and easy. But I'm not going to look at them right now. So, the other one we had as far as location, the school, the CAD that came up, is the Temple School of Durnwin. I used random generators to pick up names for things. I think I used for this one either the which ones did I use? I think I used either the Fantasy Name Generators site or Mythopedia, which is just mythopedia.com /name-generator. That's one of my favorites. Other one, I can put the link in the chat, actually, because why not? And the other one is the much older Fantasy Name Generators, which I'll also throw in the chat, because why not? And I just heard a weird noise from the other room that was probably a cat, so just give me a minute, I'll be right back. And yes, the cat was somewhere he shouldn't be. Okay, so, causing trouble as usual. Let's see, where were we here? So the school is fairly straightforward and easy, I think. Let me styles real quick and fix this up, because I don't like how that looks. There we go. Okay, that's not fixing those. All right, that's fine. So this one's a little bit different, and it's an active school, which is good. That makes things a little bit easy. Rural but hidden, which is interesting. And what are they teaching? They are teaching healing subjects with formal study. Okay, that's going to be an interesting one. We're going to figure out why that's hidden. Yeah. So that one's going to be a little weird in some respects. So I think I'm going to start off with a location on this one. So I think Durnwin is going to be a deity's name. Let's do that. I like that. I like that idea. Cool. I think it's gonna be hidden because of the deity. Just for fun. Okay, so the location of the temple school is unknown outside of the upper hierarchy of Durnwin's temple, both for its own safety and the deity's purview. However, it is believed to be in some rural location, based on the based on fragments of information that have made their way to the public through rare letters and documents and other documents. So nobody's really sure where it is, but they're pretty sure it's in a rural area. Of course, in your classic quasi-European medieval fantasy thing, there are tons of rural areas, so that could be potentially 80-90% of a map. Why it's hidden occurred to me as I was figuring out, okay, Dyrnwyn is a deity. So Dyrnwyn is going to be a deity of healing, medicine, and secrets. So therefore his school, his temple school, teaches healing subjects and is also kept secret from others. So that, I think, will work out nicely for this and be a little kind of a little fun twist. So where do we go with here? Okay, we're going to go with the population. Actually, let's go governance. Let's go with governing. Okay, so the governing is overseen by, it's going to be entirely a council. So it's going to be overseen by a I don't like using council though, because council kind of gets overused. So what do we have? What's some other words here? Thesaurus is a wonderful thing. Let's see. No. Clan doesn't really work. Committee and conclave, possibly. It's a temple thing, so synod might work. Possibly. What weird connotations does synod have, if any? Ecclesiastics or other church delegates convoked pursuant to the laws of the church for the discussion of ecclesiastical affairs, ecclesiastical council, any council. Okay, so it can be for any council. It generally does have a religious or ecclesiastical feel to it. However, we also have provincial synods. So I think we can work with that. I think that'll work. That'll be a little bit different. Okay, cool. I like that idea. So overseen by an internal synod. Composed of, let's make it a random number. I don't really care how big it is, but let's, 14. Okay. That can work with this. Sure. Okay. So each member is given a specific area of focus. For example, faculty oversight, student affairs, maintenance, security, would be another good one. staff oversight. To work with on a daily basis, but the entire synod, sorry, meets every other week to address school-wide issues, rules, directions, curriculum, and related concerns. Yeah, I like that. That works well. So basically this internal synod, this internal council, will get together to, there are a lot of them, 14 is a fairly big number for one of these, but it is a kind of average-sized educational institution. So yeah, we figure that's probably going to be a good chunk of the faculty. It's probably going to be at least half the faculty, maybe a bit less than that. So that's a really significant chunk of them. But each is going to have specific administrative areas. To oversee, to administrate or administer on a daily basis. Yeah, that works better. Okay, cool. Yes. Okay, cool. The okay. Student and faculty bodies of the school are about what we would expect for the size of the institution. There is still room for a growing population, but it does not appear to be either abandoned or underpopulated. Let's see, staff is relatively underpopulated, but not terribly so. Let's see, all students average about age 17 to 18 or EQUIV equivalent, while faculty and staff or not of begin at okay, cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. any lineage within the continent, and most are accepted. Okay, curriculum is the weird part. So curriculum covers both what the school teaches and how it teaches, and potentially who it accepts, doesn't accept, as students, faculty, that sort of thing, in this particular case. So, I noted above, as noted previously, the school accepts students, staff, or students and faculty, all and most cultural backgrounds. However, all faculty must, on paper at least, be members of Derwent's clergy. Let's see. So they've got to be at least members of the clergy. This is a temple school. It's a religious school. So yeah, they're going to be technically. This is one of those situations where I'm kind of drawing from medieval things, where technically speaking, faculty in early to late medieval colleges universities were technically members of the faculty, or were technically, they were always members of the faculty, were technically members of the clergy within Catholicism, but they may or may not have been ordained depending on the situation. Some of them were monks, some of them were potentially bishops and that sort of thing, but most of the average run-of-the-mill faculty were clergy in name only. They were clergy on paper. They were not like practicing clergy. They weren't going out there and saying mass and all that sort of stuff. Now, the people in charge of the university may have been bishops in some cases, but the average rank and file instructors may have been priests on paper. They may have been monks on paper, but in practice they were not necessarily, how do we put it? They were not necessarily practicing members of the clergy, although the monks were more likely to have been. Technically, also students were members of the faculty. Students were members of the faculty. No. Technically, also students were members of the clergy, which caused a lot of town gown issues, because students and faculty were subject to canon law, the church's law, not to the secular law. And that caused a lot of issues, as one might expect. So, let's see. Students are accepted as acolytes as young as 15, or as old as 18 to start their training as healers. Cool. All are considered novices. I think novice is better. How many years? Doesn't really matter, so let's see what we got here. Nope, that's way too low. 3 works. 3 is good. Cool. they'll have 3 years of the school, during which time they're going to be considered temple novices. Upon graduation, they are conferred the status of temple acolytes. Not yet full practicing clergy. That would make them able to lead services or perform most rites of the temple. Okay, so what is taught over those 3 years? So over the 3 years of study, novices are taught a variety of healing and medical subjects. These range from anatomy and herbalism to what? Surgery and arcane healing techniques / spells for those for the talent for magic. Okay, so they cover basically everything. Also included are proper healing prayers to Durnwin. Okay, so also include our proper healing prayers to Durnwin to be said throughout the process of applying medicines or other aids. All instruction at the school is conveyed through formal classes in both lecture classrooms and practical laboratories. Practical, no, I don't like laboratories in this case. That makes it sound too Frankensteinian in some regards. Lecture classrooms and practical, what would be a good practical, I guess clinic situations, infirmary, yeah, that will work. Okay, cool. I like that. Okay, other notes. I'm not really sure there's anything else really going on. There's nothing strange about the place. There's nothing weird aside from that it doesn't, that it's kind of, well, it's hidden. So I'm not really sure about other notes in this case. I guess there the school does have a small wing of residences set aside for visiting temple dignitaries, visiting lecturers, and members of the clergy seeking to consult with or briefly study under the school's faculty. That'll work. That is looking pretty good. I'm rather happy with that. I think, unfortunately, because this is a grading week, and I need to get some stuff down, I need to get papers pulled off and start looking at some of those, I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I think I'm going to end the stream here as well. So what I think we're going to do is, looking around, since I'm the only one here, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to go ahead and take us over into Caustic Phoenix's channel, since she's streaming right now. And on that note, I will reiterate, I'm Brent, an author, amateur world builder, writing educator. You can find me as werewolf_doctor on Threads, Instagram, Patreon, Ko-Fi, and YouTube, and obviously here. Hope that was potentially interesting for people, or will be interesting for people in the future, as you look at the VOD and all that sort of stuff. And good day. Yes, there it goes. Okay, cool.
Does Florida pay crazy insurance now anyway? Insurance is starting to get a little out of hand. There's been more talks about insurance and how it's handled, especially for those in on the coastal regions, but we don't have a solution.